welcome to another episode of Comics Live. It's a launch party, and we welcome all of you to launch party with Pete from Comica Press and Lorry, the
Hey
author of the
there.
books that we're launching, the artist and author. I'm so sorry about that. You're both author and the artist. So fantastic.
Yeah, thank you
Welcome
for
to the
having
stream.
me. Thank you for having both of us. I am so happy that this is a thing.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, no worries at all. No worries at all. I'm pretty sure our audience would love to hear more about your books and yourself. So why don't we actually start with a round of introductions? Since you're to my right on the screen, Pete, why don't you go first, and then Laurie, you can go
Sure.
after that. So,
Pete
yeah.
Steiner, owner of Comic Press, and we are an indie publisher. And I used to say indie comics publisher, but we now have expanded into, um, you know, we've always done comics and graphic novels, but now we are expanding into children's books and novels, audiobooks, and so there's a lot of really great stuff on the horizon for uh, indie and publishing as a whole. So it's going to be good. And just wanted to hop on here tonight to rep some of our spooky season books uh, that didn't quite make the spooky season because of NYCC and some complications. But uh, as Lori and I talked, it's always spooky season. So we're here to showcase the first two volumes of his anthology, and I will let him really get into that since he has all the details to share.
Hey there. Yeah, I'm Lori, cartoonist, non-binary cartoonist of the Nightshade Anthology here. So we're talking the first two entries, Party Animals and Blush. This is a young adult queer horror sort of anthology, um, shorter comics, but that kind of build up to create more of like a larger world around them. It's very Goosebumps. If Goosebumps was like very gay and for like a slightly older crowd, some more fun pop culture references in there. And yeah, and so I am so thrilled to be working with Comic or Press on this, as well as hey, there we go, as well as Comix, the webcomic platform here. It's been such a thrill to connect with you both and to really elevate these products that I've made, the comics I've been working on, and honing in on the story and finding some really cool ways to bring it to life, whether that's in print, digital, a lot of really cool merchandise we'll be plugging online soon, all sorts of fun stuff. So very glad to be here.
That's a fantastic introduction. What year did we start chatting, Laurie? Was it earlier this year or sometime last year?
It
It-
it would have been like early spring of this year, I believe. Um,
Wow.
which, for anyone watching online who has been kind of following the journey of these comics, they did not start with Comicer, but they've found a very stable and fantastic home with Comicer. And so I originally found you, Sarah, through Comix, just looking for really any sort of webcomics platform to have these on, since that wasn't necessarily an opportunity I was going to be able to find from the previous publisher. And so I thought, just I'll reach out. What's the worst that can happen? There's not really any trouble I can get into doing this, and the exact opposite happened. It was
There
so
was
great,
lots of
and
trouble.
yeah, but good trouble, fun trouble. Um, so much fun there. And yeah, and so I found you, and you were so supportive and encouraging, and you even connected me to Pete here through Comicer. And I mean, sure enough, I am repping the T-shirt. I had to show it on live
Woohoo!
here. Um,
Amazing.
yeah, so it is. It's been so official. It's just so much fun to have this like professional relationship and to just see how far I can go with my comics and just keep pushing.
Oh, that's very very true. Like the reason why we exist as a platform, whatever in whatever shape or form, may be like YouTube or the website or the app or anything. Like the reason we exist is to actually help indie voices go out there and spotlight them. And these are like, and that's what Pete also does with his platform, right? Like Comical Press is a
Yes.
platform for really unique indie voices. Like all these people, give them a really good home, and also just spread the message, just spread the book across the world. It's so fantastic. Like I got an email from one of your readers for Party Animals a while ago, Laurie, and they basically, it was somebody from Ireland who bought the book, and they resonated with the book so beautifully. They just emailed me saying, "Thank you for such a great book," and like they just absolutely loved it. So it's so beautiful when people read it, they respond to it, and like they just engage with the book, right? And that's what we want as creators. That's the whole point.
Oh my gosh, what an honor. That's thank you to this reader in Ireland. That is so sweet, and I am so thankful for that sincerity. And that's kind of the goal with these comics that I'm making now is to kind of have an escape. You don't have to be queer in any way to read and enjoy the comics. It certainly doesn't hurt, but I think anyone can really just find a good escape with the everything going on around us, especially in the US. We just need a good, fantastical, weird escape where you see these queer and trans and gay protagonists fighting off these monsters and kind of figuring out their own capabilities and their own like self-worth and embracing that and realizing like it's not as scary as I think it is. It's we're gonna save the day.
That's so fantastic. I think I've read both the books, by the way, and at the end of the day, if not anything, they are really heartfelt uh, stories that tug at your heartstrings, and like they're really fun to read. You don't have to be. I mean, you don't have to be queer to enjoy them. Just
Yeah.
have to enjoy a good story at the end of the day.
I
So that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
I remember first talking to Lorry when he was submitting for Comicer, and we were talking about the books and the platform and how they could serve as a good representation of things. And I said, the interesting thing is all of the you know the queer relationship story arc in this isn't unique just to queer relationships. It's kind of the the universal relationship experience. Everybody gets the butterflies and the stress and the nerves, and it really just encompasses everyone's experience. But kudos to Lori for not only packaging it in a very cute and fun and funny horror, um, but really making it um, a special piece for the queer community to have as new literature and continuing to grow the the genres in queer comics.
Oh my gosh, well, thank you for that. Yeah, I was thinking back to when we first met, and what kind of struck me was our own first initial Zoom session. It felt so organic. It was just a very natural conversation about what kind of comics we wanted to make, what resonated, what didn't, and just talking through my stories and kind of what I was envisioning. And that's what really struck me too. Like, it wasn't like, okay, hurry up and sign this scammy contract where, like, who knows what's in the fine print. It was very much like, no, we'll go at our own pace, we'll be very deliberate, and we'll make very meaningful stories because of it. So it's like the mindset of the comicer, no matter what the story or the genre or the format is. It's always, it's very well done, heartfelt. It's just been so much fun to experience from behind the scenes.
That is very, very true. Um, Amazing. Can you help us understand some of like can you get us into the story of both Party Animals and Blush a little bit without obviously spoiling it, you know?
Yeah,
Tell us
that's
a bit about the
well,
book.
true. Yes. Please purchase the books to read the full story. I will not narrate them for you right now. Um, but to
Although
give
we
you,
do have the talents to make that happen shortly.
mm, there we go. Almost a spoiler, maybe. Yeah. So party animals. It's takes it's kind of this amalgamation of a lot of chaotic elements and a lot of intense emotions where you have it takes place during this high school house party. Not only that, you have the main character is a non-binary teen named Onyx who uh, like me, very they them, introverted, not really a party animal despite the title, um, but runs into who they quickly realize is their crush, one of their classmates, and despite all the tumultuousness of like a house party and these feelings, the hosts of the house party turn out to be werewolves. The high school jocks through various plot devices I won't spoil on here yet, to be tantalizing, turn into werewolves, cause chaos, and it's all about kind of finding the courage to express whatever your genuine feelings are in the moment, no matter how stressful or intense or chaotic it may be, to kind of prioritize those. Um, and then going over to Blush, the kind of sequel, but each comic is very standalone. You can still enjoy them separately as well as together. Is more about another teen who is sort of coming into his own sexuality and understanding and kind of has his first queer crush, this new neighbor that moves down the street, who has a little bit of a mysterious backstory. You can kind of see from the cover. Vampires are involved, so I don't think that's a spoiler. I think that's fair to say. And so it's kind of a metaphor for just self acceptance, for confronting someone and being very emotionally vulnerable, whether that is expressing your feelings for them or expressing the fact that you're a vampire, which I have not done, but I would imagine is also just as thrilling emotionally. um, uh, yeah, and Blush
Very true.
especially is based on a lot of my own growing up kind of in the suburbs. I based a lot of the background details and locations and scenery on my own hometown. And so it was just very fun to revisit that area, that kind of time in my own life as a teen, and try and capture something really authentic on the page.
Is it a spoiler to say that you have a cameo in Blush?
No, that's fun. Let's do it. I do cameo in Blush. I like to think it's more of like an M Night Shyamalan cameo than like a Stan Lee cameo. So like well done in a way that isn't like super annoying the longer you see it. um, and so I don't think it's also a spoiler to say, because I have been working on the follow ups to these two, that I do cameo more. Not not more in terms of like having a bigger character, but like if I just need a small background character who has like a line, who has to do some action to kind of move the plot along, I'll draw myself into that. And so it's been kind of a fun element that just came up organically while designing this whole world.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Lorry
Do
is
you
the
find it
Deus Ex Machina of Nightshade.
And that's the thing. The final book, I'm going to realize that my character is God, and it's all going to be wild from there. It's going to take a lot of turns.
that's amazing. Also, like Stanley was one of the Watchers in Marvel, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot about that detail. Yeah, good for Stan.
True, very true. Amazing. So, Pete, tell me what what was your experience reading Blush and Party Animals for the first time? I know you did mention Party Animals a little bit, but what was your experience reading Blush? And you know, obviously, how did you translate that into print? And I know you do a bit of magic whenever it comes to printing books, but yeah, how did you translate that?
Yes, the magic is they get put on paper. That's 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 all it takes for printing, really. Uh, no, Blush was really great. Um, the things that I think will resonate uh, to people just discovering the series. One is kind of the artistic choice that Lorry made to keep all of the interior pages to tints of a single color. And it's really interesting how much um, other comics have a lot of visual noise, and when everything has a tone to it, how much more the dialogue resonates. And Blush is exactly the same. Um, Obviously, you can see the distinct color choices for the first two. Uh, Book three to be revealed soon. But with Blush, it was great. It was very much a tonal shift in some ways from Party Animals, where Party Animals, by its title alone, uh, the story is much more frenetic, and um, there's a lot of chaos. I'll say a little bit of slapstick humor in there as well, some physical comedy, um, and Blush is much more stripped down, much more intimate a story, and kind of what you would expect from a vampire love story, right? It's very much uh, a singular focus on these characters and um, some some outside influences that uh, both characters find themselves needing to make some choices to deal with. And I think it's good because not only is Laurie writing for the queer relationship side, but just also kind of encompassing that slice of life. And what I love about all of the comic stories is uh, kind of the resonating archetypes of stories that everybody can relate to and can see themselves in as the characters of the books.
Absolutely. No, that's amazing. I think a good segue question to this is, I think for Laurie, do you think like in its current state, do comics have enough? I mean, they will never have enough, but maybe good queer representation. Um, uh, like for me personally, the most favorite form of representation is when you don't have to represent the character as queer; they just fit into the world more organically and naturally. Um, it's just like daily life. They just exist like everyone else. But I don't know about you. Are there any favorite representations for you as
Yeah.
well?
Well, I mean, I think you answered your question first. To start off with, I think, yeah, there's never enough. It's not really a threshold. It's more just there is room for everyone, and I think, like growing up, I recall, seeing what was available in my local bookstore, my local library, and kind of finding characters here and there that really like spoke to me as a kid in like a very distinct way that now I can recognize, like, okay, this is me like realizing my own identity. I think of like Billy and Teddy from the Young Avengers, which if you've watched the new Agatha Harkness show, that'll be more familiar. Seeing those original comics when I was really young was kind of mind blowing to be like, oh wow, I didn't know two boys can date? Whoa. Just kind of wild of a concept, kind of growing up in a very not necessarily closed-minded, but a very small kind of communal bubble, I would say. I remember Zavin from the Runaways, the shape-shifting Skrull who changes their gender depending on really their mood, the plot line, even their love interest, having a preference. And so that was also kind of wild to be like, oh, gender isn't necessarily this fixed concept. It can be literally fluid if you're an alien, but kind of like conceptually fluid. Um, and I think those are, you know, here characters here and there in a sea of aggressively heterosexual white male characters. And so from there, I really feel like turning to a lot more independent comics and media and discovering that as I got older, especially in college and beyond, has been so thrilling. Before the recording, we mentioned Saga briefly. I think Saga's fantastic for that. Um, uh, Reading like the comics of Alison Bechdel kind of blew my mind of just the formatting, the world building. It was all so unique in a way I hadn't seen before. Even just the other day, I was reading. It came out like a year ago, and I recently found it online, and I was so thrilled. I don't know if either of you have read this. It's by the comic creator Signer Grace, who's done like Iceman for Marvel. He's written a lot of like independent work. It is called Rockstar and Soft Boy, and it is this
Okay.
very heightened kind of reality of the author and his best friend IRL, kind of with a lot of these magical realism elements thrown in. And just reading through it, it's so campy, it's so over the top. The pop culture references are just all over the place. It's very hyper specific in a way that uh, just kind of was remarkable reading. Like it does feel like a good milestone that you can find comics as hyper specific as something like that. And so that's something that I strive for too, is to really make the stories that the younger me wanted to see. You know, not just characters, whether through like metaphor or fantastical elements expressing their feelings, but like in a very direct and genuine way, like exploring those identities and embracing them.
That's so fantastic.
Mhm.
What about you, P? Are there any of your favorite representations in
Um,
comics? Maybe.
you know, hmm, I hadn't had that one prepared. Um, I, I guess to take it back to um, comicer and you know one of kind of our flagship and our original books we published was Chimera, and you know very similar and does get acknowledged as quite saga-esque in its look and feel, but to his credit, the creator Tyler Ellis wanted to have some queer representation in there with the brother and sister mercenary team in the book, and uh, that aspect of who they were was merely just part of the spectrum of who they were. That the pilot of the ship Charlie, sure, gay, but a badass pilot, one of the best there is, weapons expert, really good in combat, and just uh, a pretty interesting and unique character. Same with his sister, and don't want this to be a spoiler cast, but yeah, I like that when it's important to an author to show that that representation is important to them, um, but it's not merely a, distilled down to a token trait, right? Um, that that you can you can still have all the diversity and all the characters you want, but still have them very diverse and rich in personality and quirks and humor and skills and abilities and everything, and that's really what, again, I always bring it back to the slice of life. That's reality, right? That's people every day. And so I think that creators like Lori and Tyler, when they choose to do that, their stories are going to hit so much more impactfully because y- if you identify with that character, identify with them on such a deeper level, and you get so much more immersed into the story, into the worlds, that uh, it just, the whole experience of those books becomes way more fulfilling. Um, and
That is a fantastic answer, by the way.
thanks.
And
And I will add on to that with all of these, and having been preparing Laurie's books and some of the others that we'll hopefully get to in coming days and weeks, is um, that with the creation of all these characters, um, I was arguing with a friend. We were talking about meaningful stories, and it was like, well, um, what what was like one of the most impactful like movie or TV things that hit you with a character? And one of the ones, and it was funny because I said that it was essentially the spoiler alert, in one of the last Next Generation movies. uh,
How many
Data
decades has it been since that movie? Like,
Data dies,
by
but
this point in time, like,
yeah,
you guys.
yeah,
Sorry, that's my
but
soapbox. That's it.
but but he was like, well, and I was making the point that it had been so long, and I one of our theaters, just before COVID, for some reason had a Star Trek thing, and they were bringing all the movies back to the theater so you could go for like a weekend and rewatch all the Next Generation movies. And I said I remember getting back to that one, and it had been long enough that I forgot almost up until the scene happened, and I left just devastated, like worse than the first time I saw the movie, because
wow,
um, it was such kind of a reunion to be with the characters again, that it was almost more traumatizing. And I was talking about how, everybody talks about, oh, this is just fiction, or this is just comics, and it's like, well, really, but when you think about it, how many tens or hundreds or thousands of hours do we spend with these characters that we love, and just immersed in the worlds of these characters, and that that in itself makes them as real as any other friend or person, probably more so, um, because there's so much more connection in the literary experience of it. So that's what I like too, and what I think it will be special about Laurie's anthology moving forward is he is creating a whole cast of these stories, for people to get immersed in, and uh, people will be able to connect with them, I think, quite deeply, for different reasons. And so the beautiful thing about it being an anthology is that there will be one for everybody, which is kind of the 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 point of writing diverse LGBT queer stories is you hope to reach as many people as you can, and by separating these out into volumes and unique stories, somebody will find, their character in the anthology.
Yeah, I mean that was very eloquently put. Thank you. I think that's yeah. Oh, hang on, my cat got in my lap. I don't know if we can. I'm gonna angle this camera. Here's Sunny. I knew my cat would be on this video call at some point. I thought it would have been earlier than this, um, but Pete is very familiar with Sunny. Always joins us for our brainstorming development sessions. So just some nice visual flair as you listen in on this as well. Just a nice cat tail.
Absolutely.
No, I was gonna say, um, yeah, the identities. I don't think I can fully capture like the entire breadth and depth of the queer experience of everyone's identities in, a certain predetermined amount of comics, but I can really bring some very heartfelt emotions to it and really try my best to create some very vivid characters and yeah, as Pete kind of said, like have these characters that you want to spend time with that you do feel are real. It's been such a fantastic escape for me lately to be working on future installments, to be developing these character stories and arcs. And as we've mentioned, Nightshade, it is this kind of self contained anthology, but elements will start to converge as we go on. Um, and getting to visit that has been so cathartic for me as a creator. So I hope it feels very similar for anyone reading into this world. Before I forget, I did want to ask Pete. Sorry, it's Pete, not Peter. I want to be
It's
sure.
both.
No, no, you're good. That's okay. Since Sarab, you asked me about representation, I feel like it's only fair. Do you, what representation do you see as a bald man, whether that's in comics or just media in general?
Hmm. Well, I definitely understand Professor X's angst through the entire X-Men Academy. It's interesting that you say that because for a long time, like way back, many moons ago, like 1998, in college. So
Well,
everybody
I
can
thought you're
do
only
the
29. What do you mean?
everybody can do the math on that. Um, I had a friend who um, got cancer, and she came through it fine, but um, did lose her hair, and it was like, I, in talking with her, found out how hard it was to like get wigs and other stuff, and it was like, well, I know I can't do a lot. And for me, it was um, having grown up, always been a part of volunteering at Ronald McDonald House. It was like, well, I would want to donate my hair for kids, so um, I started and grew my hair out and would donate it probably about every other or every third year. But my hair at one point was about 18 inches long, like
Oh my gosh,
Wow.
long
that's
and
fabulous.
curly, and I got compared to Nacho Libre quite a bit once that had come out. So
I was gonna say more. I would say more noble than a lot of what Professor X has been getting up to. I've been kind of getting into like the late 2000s, early 2010s, and that guy was a lot shiftier than you give him credit for.
yes, unfortunately it's hard to find good bald archetypes in comics because the only other one that really comes to mind off the top of my head from a very favorite property is Agent 47 from the Hitman series. So,
Mm.
um, so yeah, there's that.
I was gonna say the Silver Surfer kind of works.
Yeah.
Yeah, the literalist of literal chrome domes.
Yeah. Oh.
Isn't Kingpin bought as well? I mean, he's a villain, I
There,
Yeah.
understand,
there we
but
go.
he's all powerful, right? Yeah,
The maybe the proportional strength of the Kingpin when it comes to organizing and designing these comics, but not the brutality when it comes to interacting with the creators.
Yes.
I know.
And the fashion sense, you know.
Yeah,
Kingpin was always a dapper dude.
Yeah,
that's right.
that's very true. That's very true. I think one of like you both made a very similar point um, about these stories being one being created by independent creators and then um, being really personal. And like that's exactly why these stories resonate really well with people. It's because it's coming from a really personal space. It's really coming from this place of like this is what I love, this is what I want to create. um, and you're not really controlled by corporate agenda. The only constraint you have is yourself, and nothing else. And that's the beauty of creating independently, right? So yeah.
We're indie, baby. We can be weird and you know,
Yeah,
weirdos is the rule of the day. It can be weird, it can be quirky, it can be different. There is no agenda, and um, that's, I guess, to kind of speak to Lori talking about Comicer a little earlier, is that um, my vision in kind of rebranding and relaunching is that kind of put it out into the universe that I do want artists to find Comicer who resonate with that message, and that being creator owned, that this is a platform that's going to work like hell for them, um, because this is about their stories, um, to to the end that, you know, if Laura's like, hey, I need a couple extra pages to write something, is that okay? It's going to get longer. It's like it it takes what it takes to tell your stories, right? Um,
mm,
you can't have an agenda on the production side of a creative process.
yeah,
Yeah, and to speak to that too, I think I mean, just the what really does help Comicer stand out and set itself apart from other indie publishers is, I mean, not to not to speak ill of them, trying to be diplomatic, but just the attention to detail and the craft and the care that Pete instills in every book coming out of Comicer. Working with these artists, working to help format pages, develop merchandise with them, format files, adjust lettering. Even, I mean, gosh, one of our recent Zoom work development sessions was Pete had the covers pulled up on his laptop and we were talking about adding the Nightshade logo versus the title versus the Comicer logo and arranging that in a way that just made the most sense for the flow of the page and of the artwork rather than oh, this has to be a cookie cutter template. It has to be right here and do this. And it was just so organic and
yeah.
focused on the craft of it all. And it was just a very remarkable experience to have as a creator.
That's so fantastic. I think this, and it really shines in the final output, like the book that's there. Um, I'll tell you a story. This was at one of the cons, uh, where I think one of the readers, she really loved Lost Angels, and she just browsed through it and she was like, oh, I love it. But it was a bit expensive for her, so she was having second thoughts. She said, can I come back to this? I said, okay. So she kept the book. She did the whole round. She came back again after like an hour. Then she looked at the book again. She browsed through again, and she was still not sure. So she went on another round. After a couple of hours, and like 2 or 3 times doing that, she said like, I just can't take that book out of my head, so I have to buy it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
that just speaks volumes of like what the quality of the production, right? So
Yeah, and another amazing uh, creative duo, another comicer OG of David Acampo and Chris Anderson, and Chris, the artistic visionary of Lost Angels, also a uh, very well published heavy metal artist. So if you really love that style and that kind of edgier ink work, um, definitely worth checking out as well. But yeah, um, hopefully more for Lost Angels too.
it's fantastic. Awesome. Let's time for some trivia. Woohoo!
Ooh, it's told there be trivia.
I
I am so excited. I will say, my local friend group and I, we do very well at our local bar trivia.
That's
So unless
amazing.
this involves professional sports, I will be doing very well at this. I'm sorry to say, Pete. You're gonna have to step it up.
Well, I'm sitting at my computer, so I have Google. So challenge accepted.
Shoot,
No, no Google allowed.
that's the
To
thing.
be
I
honest,
am
like this
too.
is
So I mean, I guess who can type the fastest?
Yeah. What was that, sir?
But yeah, say that again. Just no reason. Just say that again.
Yeah, yeah. Siri didn't quite hear you.
okay. Cool. I'll put this on. All right. Let's let's start.
Oh
Um,
wow, this is awesome. Look at
Holy
this.
smokes, we have a whole interactive.
awesome. So, what is the name of the summer camp where Friday the
Oh shoot.
13th
Okay,
takes
we're doing
place?
this.
Let's do that.
Hmm.
Okay, wait. Can I say it first, or would we shout it out, or we buzz in? Sorry.
Just
What?
shout
What?
it out. Yeah,
Oh, it's
just shout
Camp
it out.
Crystal Lake.
Cool.
Sorry,
Correct.
I got very excited.
That's cool.
Oh, oh gosh. It's Massachusetts, right?
Pete, do you want to go?
Oh, it's been so long. That's I
I do
What?
know
I
that.
I crap. I wanted to say Pennsylvania, but
Well, because I
I
do
don't
know
remember.
that the woman in that scene, that the actress now, she's like, she kind of is doing her own thing and runs a massive pot farm. Like that's the trivia I know about this one character IRL.
Wow,
So
That's a deep cut.
that
like
is a
that's,
deep
I don't
cut.
know if that would help with the location at all, because I feel like of these states, like that, that you could find those around.
Yeah.
All right, all right. Come up with a decision, both of you, and I'll
Okay.
put that
So,
on.
well, oh, okay, wait. Are we doing this both, or are we like, is it me
Yeah,
versus
you
Pete?
both can do it as a team. I think that's a good idea.
Not
I
to, yeah.
I will probably side with Lori then on this one.
Okay.
We'll go with
All right,
Massachusetts.
let's go with
Locking it in.
Massachusetts. No, it's Maryland.
Maryland. Okay.
Oh, dang! Oh my god.
I I felt it was an East Coast and I 50-50'd the bottom two.
Also, let me also just say, I know I hopped on that first one because I thought this would be more of a competition, so I'm glad it's not. And
Yep,
uh,
yep.
yeah, don't want to step on any toes, but yeah, thank you for the vibes. Okay, let's see. Oh, name of the hotel Jack Torrance was hired to care for. It is the Overlook Hotel.
Yes.
That is an easy one. Yeah. Awesome.
For those fans of it who probably already know, it is the Stanley Hotel in
Ah.
Colorado, and it is amazing, gorgeous hotel, and they have tours where you get to go around and see all of the things.
I will
That's
say,
amazing.
for I believe it was the movie, they changed the floor number because at first the hotel was like, well, we don't want people to think this one room is like actually haunted. Like it was like 213 versus like 237 in the movie. But the movie came out, and then I mean, yeah, how would you not want to stay in the haunted hotel room? So they had to make it right away.
Wow. That's amazing. That's both of you have given literally a better trivia than the quiz itself.
I feel like that's a good sign of just like connecting with comicers. Yeah, with just a deep love of pop culture and like really random trivia.
Absolutely, absolutely. Amazing. The Losers
Okay.
Club unites after how many years in It Chapter 2?
It I think it is 27 because and this is okay, this is going to be kind of a deep pull because what so for reference, after college, I like moved back home with my family for a few months, trying to figure out try to figure out what the next step was. I realized, oh, I love St. Louis, where I'm currently based. I really want to move back there, and I did. And the first movie that I saw in theaters after I moved back to St. Louis was It Chapter 2. And there was a lot of 27 years in the advertisements and it has to be 27 years.
Awesome.
Yep,
If that's not right,
I
like,
concur.
Awesome. Let's do that. Let's go with it. That's correct.
oh, thank God. I was gonna say that one movie is just so like weirdly formative to like my growing up that I'm glad I got it right. I actually knew what it was.
Ooh, Resident Evil. These are my questions.
Oh, there we go. I'm glad we're tag teaming this. Okay.
Ooh, those would be Dobermans.
Cool.
Is it okay? Let's see.
Damn. The
I've
confidence.
seen
Yeah. This is the
I've seen
last
the
one.
first Resident Evil during the pandemic. I do want to get into the sequels. They seem like a lot of fun. Oh wow. Um. Okay. Oh man.
This is
I don't.
this is a deep cut, by the way. This is really this question itself
Okay.
is
Here's the
a deep
thing.
cut.
I listened to a really good podcast about this movie like a year ago, maybe, and like
Mm.
they definitely would have covered this topic, and I'm not thinking of. I'm gonna. Okay, so 28 Days Later, it came out in like 2001, right? 2000,
Yep.
2001. It was. So I'm trying to. Like, who would they have cast at the time? Because Killian Murphy wasn't like a name yet. I
No.
think of the time, really Pierce Brosnan was the one to stand out the most, right?
Yeah. It's funny.
Which I
Uh,
guess I don't know why I'm asking you,
See,
Thor, because you're the
I
one like controlling the game and you got the answers, but
I I feel like it was Ryan Reynolds, but
that would have.
um,
Yeah, because like it was before he did like comedy, really, right? Like, what was he doing
well,
in the
he had
like?
he had done like Van Wilder and stuff like
Okay,
that. But I
yeah,
think it
some
was
of
him,
those.
and I I think it I'm I'm gonna go with Ryan Reynolds because I think they wanted a name, but they didn't have the budget because I think the whole film was actually shot for less than 7 mil.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do. I
It's a
will say
very
the
low
trivia I
budget
do
movie.
know is they filmed a lot of this like guerrilla style, like just without permits in the empty streets, like at
Yeah,
like dawn when no one was
Sunday
out
Sunday
anyway.
mornings in London.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, smart.
I think this was after like a big parade, and they deliberately waited for it because
Oh,
there
that's
was like a
clever.
huge mess
Hmm.
before the cleaners came and cleaned the streets. So yeah.
Oh, let's see. Okay. So, do we both have to pick the same answer, or can we go different answers?
He's
This
gonna
is
click on one.
yeah. I have to
Okay.
click on one.
I
Yeah.
will. I will go with you on Ryan Reynolds here, Pete. I think you've given me a convincing enough explanation.
Watch
Awesome.
it fail.
Let's do
But
it. Let's do it. It's
ooh,
Ryan Gosling,
Gosling.
The other
Really?
Canadian Ryan. Yeah.
I thought he was still in the Mickey Mouse Club at that point. What do you mean he was almost cast in this movie?
Yeah, I think their brief was they were trying to cast somebody who's
Mhm.
really young and up and coming, and Ryan Gosling was still like he was doing theater or like you said Mickey Mouse Club, like he was really young. He was like just out of or maybe like still in college or something.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
Well, I guess anyone watching or listening after this can just be like screaming at the top of their lungs like what the answers were. So it's good for the audience engagement.
Well, that way it's just like any other game show you watch on TV where those at home know the answers and you just rage.
We're giving you captivating television. Is what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah, very true, very true. That was fantastic, and I think you both have such a beautiful knowledge of pop culture. Like it's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you
Well,
so
we took a digger on at least two of those, so it's not that good.
No,
Been
no,
focused too
we
much
did
on
really
getting
well.
all these pre-release comics out.
well, that's yeah. We should try working less hard. We should try slacking off actually. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe for the next release, the next live streaming podcast, we'll be doing a lot of homework then, and we'll make sure the next trivia is like spot on.
Do you know these things are actually best done without any homework? Like that's the fun
Oh
of
yeah.
trivia. Yeah, you're just thrown into the whole situation, and you're just questions coming at you, and you have to like, you know, think about them in real time. That's the fun of it, to be
Heck
honest.
yeah.
So amazing. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
And
Well, thank you for putting that together.
no
Yeah, and
worries.
thank you
So
for hanging out and having us on. This has been so fun.
Oh, this really
I
is just
know.
a treat. Just to talk to you, just to be able to do this, and just to have the opportunity to bring these books into the world in a way that they really should be seen. I'm so excited about it.
That's awesome. So I think like we're obviously coming close to time. So the final thing is I'll give both of you the stage and do an elevator pitch of the book and point people to where can they pre-order stuff. You know.
Lori, the floor is all yours for
Ooh,
this.
heck yeah! So, all right. Well, this is good actually because I wrote the little descriptions on the back of the books that are coming out now, both in print and digital. So I do for Party Animals. It's the classic pitch I used was Heartstopper meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Um, Ironically, the vampire story is less Buffy than the werewolf one, but in terms of tone. And then Blush, I wrote out more as the you take the aesthetics of Twilight, you mix that in with like an early Taylor Swift deep cut. So thinking like one of her Fearless or Speak Now songs. That's like the really earnest, kind of romantic ballads, and you add a lot of queerness into it, and then you have Blush. And oh, hey, Sunny's back on my lap. So he wanted to make sure he got to say his piece as well. If you see any more of my cat. I will note too that these comics have a lot of bonus material in them. And I'm really grateful that Pete was so on board with the idea, was really encouraging of this. I really wanted to include my character sketches, but kind of the concept behind the scenes concepts of coming up with logos, with designs, even having some a little bit of an afterword, a type of like essay kind of writing of kind of where my was at with the story. Like in Party Animals, I write about some of the queer horror that like really impacted me as a non-binary creator, and with Blush, I wrote about how much of the story was kind of based on my own lived experience. Not the vampire parts, but maybe just to like create intrigue. Maybe it was. And so I'm just so glad that that content also gets to be a part of it. So you get a lot of just stuff in these books to really sink your teeth into. To also use another vampire reference.
Amazing. Amazing. Do you want to add anything to that, Pete?
I will just say that these can be found at comicorpress.com for pre-order currently. Um,
Awesome.
you will also see that there is another book for pre-order there as well as Lori's. More conversation on comics coming soon with that and the creator. Um, and just, yeah, you can keep an eye at Comic or Press. We are a very small indie publisher, but uh, moving and making some moves to really kind of break out in 2025 and bring you a ton more creators, a ton more uh, quirky, weird, fun indie stories in every kind of genre you can imagine. Um, we're going to be breaking into manga and some legitimate horror series coming out and some supernatural and so it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be more children's books on the way, and really, that's important to me too because uh, children's books and that's kind of the 1.0 of comics, right, for kids is your experience with a very art rich book, um, and so hopefully we can have the full spectrum offered, from the earliest of readers all the way through the mature with everything dark and spooky or funny, that everybody can enjoy something.
That's awesome.
I will
That's
actually add on
awesome.
to that, just now that I have not told Pete this yet. This is like breaking news. This is live on the air. A few months ago, my mom found a poem that I wrote when I was in the first grade about the color blue and just everything that can be blue, the feelings of blue, just blue. And she texted me and was like, "You need to make this into a children's book." And lo and behold,
Wow.
here we are, looking to expand. So, Pete, I think I have, still very committed to Nightshade and to finishing these stories out, but there are certainly other ideas on the table I will be mentioning very soon.
Well, if Comiker does anything, we punch way above our weight for what we do. So let's do all the things.
Heck yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. We have books being pitched on air. That's fantastic.
Hey, that's what
Where
your
do you see
platform
that?
is here for. I mean,
Heck yeah.
you are kind of the new rival, pirate radio of digital comics.
And
I
also,
sure
I mean,
hope
to
so.
be clear, like our comic or books are going to be on comics, available for digital download. And I mean, I love your site just like purely as a comics fan. Just having, like a real, like a really easy to use reader. Like the user interface is great. So like, it's just such a fantastic site that you have now. And so I'm just so glad that,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Comic is already well set up on that, but my work can just really, find a home there as well.
Thank you.
And just one last thing, because kind of a new recontracting, for all of the library card holders and library fans out there. The digital comics will be appearing, of Lorry's and others very shortly on Hoopla as well. We've partnered with them to have a much
So good.
uh, wider reach into, again, for um, kids and YA, the library system reach is really important to Comiker. So, yep, Hoopla as well, hoopladigital.com.
Oh my gosh! It get download Hoopla
Kicking
on your
goals.
phone, laptop. I have it on my. I love Hoopla. Just uh, not even as a creator, as just like a person who engages in media. And
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
yeah.
public library. I mean, I have very vivid memories, as I've talked about already, of just finding some very formative comics. Most of which were through my public library. So another fantastic resource that is just so cool. Just objectively so much fun.
It is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And just to give us inside scoop of what's happening at Comics is as well is we are redesigning the whole website from ground up, doing like the whole next generation of UI, making it super easy, super snappy, super interactive, you know, with lots of new things. So, you know, we could be live streaming on comics if sometime this next year, you know. So
Oh, so exciting! Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, both of you. I wish you all the best for your campaign and for your promotional campaign. I hope you get a lot of success with the book, and you know, yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you.
just wishing all the
Thank you
best.
so
Yeah,
much. Thanks for having us. It's such a treat, really.
amazing. Awesome. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and until next time, stay gold, everyone. See
Bye.
ya. That